Hare Krishna. This is the story of an orphan 5-year-old Krishna devotee girl who became guru of a 1400-year-old yogi. The story of great Krishna devotee Sant Muktabai, who brought dead to life and chanted Krishna's name. Muktabai was born in 1298 and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Muktabai and her 3 elder male siblings were all born in the holy town of Alandi on the bank of the river Indrayani near Pune in Maharashtra. Their parents, Vitthalpant and Rukminibai Kulkarni, were Brahmins only but became outcasts. Vithalpant had vowed to become an ascetic and embraced asceticism, hiding his marital status. He pursued spiritual enlightenment from a guru, and he had ritually renounced the life of a householder, leaving his young wife to her own fate. After some time, however, his guru learned that Vithalpant was married and had left his young wife behind. He then advised Vithalpant to return to his wife and fulfill his duties as a householder. Vithalpant returned to Alandi, but was excommunicated from the community because it was unheard of and against religious scriptures to abandon sanyas and adopt family life again. Vithalpant managed to spend his time in the study of Vedas and Shastras. He became a householder and 4 children were born to them. They were Nivritti in the year 1273, Jnanadeo or Jnaneshwar in 1275, Sopan in 1277, and the 4th, a daughter, Muktabai, in 1279. Later, Nivrutti was regarded as an incarnation of Siva, Jnanadeo or Jnaneshwar as an incarnation of Hari, Sopan as an incarnation of Brahma, and Muktabai as an incarnation of Saraswati. Everything was fine until Nivrutti was 7 years old, which was the time when a boy of Brahmin parentage had to undergo thread ceremony to be inducted as a Brahmin. He approached the Brahmins of Alandi to permit them to perform the thread ceremony, but the conservative orthodox community refused. Vithalpant entreated the Brahmins in various ways and requested them to suggest some way out for atoning the sin committed by him. But the orthodox Brahmins were not prepared to budge an inch and to give permission for the thread ceremony. Ultimately, they referred to all the religious books and said that, for the purpose of getting relief from his sins committed, Vithalpant and his wife Rukminibai should sacrifice their lives at the confluence of the Ganga and the Yamuna. Vithalpant, who was really a God-fearing person, accepted the unanimous decision of the Brahmins and with his wife jumped in the holy waters of the Ganga and the Yamuna at Prayag. All the 4 children became orphans, but their children were still being treated as outcasts and their minds were not at ease. Paitan was in those days a great seat of learning and a stronghold of the orthodox Brahmins. Nivritti wandered into a cave in the Anjani mountain where Gahini Nath, one of the 9 Naths, was staying at that time. He was attracted towards Nivritti and in spite of his young age, initiated him into the Nath sect, assigning him the mantra Ram Krishna Hari, instructing him to propagate devotion to Lord Krishna. That is how Nivritti became Nivritti Nath. Considering the excellent behavior of the children and their erudition, the Brahmins permitted them to live in the community in Paitan on the condition that they would observe celibacy and produce no progeny. Later, Nivritti Nath became a guru to his 3 siblings, including Muktabai. In 1287, when Jnaneshwar was 12 years old, Nivritti Nath initiated Jnaneshwar into the Nath sect and instructed him to write a commentary on Gita. Thus, this was a unique situation of a 14-year-old elder brother guru instructing his 12-year-old younger brother disciple to write something which had become the hope of humanity. He started writing commentary on Jnaneshwari Gita at the age of about 12 years and completed it at the age of 15 years. There was a person called Changdev who was a yogi and was 1400 years old. He would walk on water, fly in the sky, get inside fire and come out without getting burnt, and had subdued and controlled all fierce animals like the tiger and the serpent. One day he got a new siddhi and started making dead people come alive. The whole village got to know about this, and everyone in Python and nearby villages started bringing everyone who was dead to Changdev, who made them come alive. However, Changdev did not like Jnaneshwar, and Jnaneshwar knew about this, but he did not bother about it. Muktabai, his younger sister, did not like this, and she wanted to teach Changdev a lesson. Mukta then went to Changdev's ashram, and there were a lot of people waiting outside for the yogi with a dead body next to them. When they saw the 5-year-old girl Mukta, they asked her to go away, thinking that she would be frightened seeing the dead bodies. Mukta asked them why they were waiting outside, and they said that they were waiting for Changdev to come out and wake the dead body to life. Hearing this, the little girl said that she could also wake it up. She then ran towards the dead body and said, "Vitthala, Vitthala," in its ears, and then ran away. The dead body immediately woke up and started jumping and chanting, "Vitthala, Vitthala." Hearing this noise, Changdev came out and came to know what had happened. He then inquired about the little girl and came to know that she was Jnaneshwar's sister who did the miracle. Changdev Maharaj was most commonly known due to his popular first encounter with Jnaneshwar. As the story goes, when the 4 siblings Nivritti, Jnaneshwar, Sopan and Muktabai achieved a lot of appreciation, Changdev Maharaj wanted to test them. The siblings Muktabai, Sopan, Jnaneshwar and Nivritti were once seated on the wall. Changdev wanted to test them and chose to ride on the back of a tiger, wielding a poisonous cobra as a whip and moving towards the 4 siblings. When the siblings, then sitting on a masonry wall, saw the procession of Changdev and thousands of his devotees walking toward their house, they decided to break his pride by humiliating him. They patted on the wall and it rose up to move forward as a respect to Changdev. The use of a moving wall amazed all the people present. Changdev realized the greatness of these children. He immediately got down, came to Jnaneshwar and prostrated to him. Jnaneshwar then told him that these siddhis would not help him attain God. Changdev immediately realized and asked Jnaneshwar to show him the correct path. Jnaneshwar then asked Mukta to show him the right path. Mukta then told him that listening to the stories of God and singing the glory of God was the only way to reach God. Changdev Vateshwar then prostrated both Mukta and Jnaneshwar and went to Pandharpur to live like a true bhakta. From that day, he became a disciple of Muktabai. A 1400 years old yogi became a disciple of a guru who was 5 years old Krishna Devotee. Muktabai was known for her simple and straightforward expression of thoughts. She could be considered as one of the first poetesses in Marathi along with Mahadamba. There are around 40 abhangs attributed to her. She accepted Yogi Changdev as her disciple. Though she was very young, she became a guru to a highly accomplished yogi named Changdev. In another story, in Alandi, there was a Brahmin named Visoba Chatti. He was very orthodox and used to underestimate and ridicule the sages. Once, Nivritti expressed his desire to Muktabai to eat mande, that is, bread like puran poli, which are required to be baked on a frying pan, and he asked her to fetch a frying pan. So Muktabai went around the village to buy a pan. Visoba, who was of wicked nature, had informed all the potters and traders in the village not to give a pan to Muktabai, and hence she could not get it in the whole village. She came back home unhappily and was weeping, as she felt that her eldest brother would get angry at the outcome. When Jnaneshwar knew about this, he consoled her, and by yogic power he kindled the fire inside his stomach and told her to bake the bread on his back, which was as red hot as the frying pan. With shock and amazement, secretly watching this miracle through a window, Visobachati realized the power of these extraordinary children. He rushed inside the hut and picked up the crumbs of the buns as their prasad. Seeing this, Muktabai exclaimed, "O Khechara," that is mule, "turn back." These words completely transformed his heart. He fell at their feet, crying and begging for their forgiveness. When he asked them to accept him as their disciple, Nivritti requested Muktabai to initiate him. After that, Visoba left the village in order to spend the rest of his life in deep contemplation and sadhana. He achieved self-realization and became the guru of Sant Namdev. Likewise, Muktabai was responsible for removing the covering in the mind of Sant Namdev. When they met Namdev in Pandharpur, Nivritti, Jnaneshwar and Sopan in all humility prostrated before him. Namdev was filled with pride because everyone in Pandharpur regarded him as a great saint. Muktabai, with great compassion for this sincere devotee, wished to remove this short-sightedness. Thus, she did not fall at his feet as her brothers did. Later, Gyandev asked Gorakumhar that, "Goroba, you are a potter. Just by a tap, you are able to know a baked and unbaked pot. Hence, will you please tap the heads of all the saints that have gathered here and let me know your observation?" On this request, Goroba went on tapping the heads of the saints one by one, and all of them coolly allowed the test. When Namdev's turn came, he did not like the idea and said, "What is this queer way of welcoming the guests who have come to your home?" However, Goroba proceeded with the tapping and said that Namdev's pot was not properly baked. This observation of Goroba was received by all the saints with great interest, but most of them kept quiet. But Muktabai immediately said, "Goroba, your examination is quite correct." Namdev, who had the ego that he had achieved a high degree of saintliness, felt hurt at that observation and went to God Vithoba at Pandharpur and complained to him about this remark in spite of his saintliness. God Vithoba told him that the feeling of ego was the main defect in him, and in order to do away with it, he should approach the Guru, Visoba Khechara. Then Namdev went to Visoba Khechara and bowed down to him. He, in his turn, accepted Namdev as his disciple and initiated him. After this novitiate, Namdev fully realized the presence of God in everything and everywhere and occupied a very high place in the congregation of the saints of Maharashtra. Jnaneshwar was only 21 years of age at the time of his samadhi. Within a year and a half of this event, his brothers and sister also left the material world. Sopan took samadhi at Saswat near Pune. Nivritti travelled with his sister on a pilgrimage along Tapi river, where both were caught one day in a thunderstorm. In the roar of thunder, rain and lightning, Muktabai vanished without trace in 1298. There is a Jnaneshwar and Muktabai mandir about 1 kilometer distance from the main temple, and in this mandir there are images of Muktabai cooking rotis on the back of Jnaneshwar Maharaj. Hare Krishna.